Here with National Coach Zeke Jones. A few weeks after the Olympic Games, starting a brand new international freestyle season. Coach Jones, the topic is regional training centers. Could you give me your thoughts about how the results in London show that regional training centers work real well in the United States system?
Well, it obviously the results tell you why it works. Our Olympic team all came from regional training centers. It shows you that the model works. But it's really nothing new. It's really a guy named Art Martori that had the vision 30 years ago when he married a wrestling club with a university atmosphere like they did at Arizona State, Oklahoma State, and Iowa's done similarly, and now other places are doing it. So it's a model that works.
And why are RTCs so important to our national effort? Obviously the senior level, the Olympic level, but also for the whole effort for the freestyle program.
Well, they're crucial. What it's done is it's probably added, I'd say, $3 million new dollars annually to the sport of wrestling, and that money has been in at the senior level. It's like adding 7 new Sun-Kiss wrestling teams to the programs to the overall national team program. And now what it's done, and it was always the vision from 2008, was why have one Olympic training center when you can have 5 and 7? And so that was the goal, to set out to have a place where wrestlers would have 1, expert coaching, 2, training partners that are at the same level they are, and 3, a training and competition schedule that helped them reach their goals of winning medals.
Now, what's it take to have an effective RTC? I mean, people are going to want to say, hey, we're a training center, but as a coach of the freestyle program, what are you looking for at a local RTC that's going to help the athletes and the program?
Yeah, four ingredients. 3, world-class coaching. Number 2, world-class training partners. 3, a world-class training and competition schedule. Number 4 is a commitment to those 3. And so that's what we've tried to do, is really just place wrestlers with coaches in locations where they're grouped up in 5 to 10, 12 people, where there's 4 to 6 senior athletes with a Olympic calibered coach. And then obviously having college partners training with them is good as well. And really what happens is it's a feeder program that those collegiate kids become the next seniors in that program there in those local areas. And that's the model. It's what I grew up in when I was at Arizona State in the 80s. And that's what I tried to introduce when I came here, and that's what we're doing.
Let's talk a little bit about coaching. As a national coach, you have to coach everybody. You have to work with all the athletes that are part of your program, especially those that identify themselves as leaders and successful athletes. But how important is a personal coach through a regional training center for our program and for the athletes involved? Obviously, we're in the Olympics, and personal coaches were a big part of our success there.
Yeah, what I do is when I'm with the athletes, when they make the World Olympic team, I say, you'll have 1 national coach and 1 personal coach. Personal coach will be the person that you work with when you're at home. The national coach will be one of the people from our staff that works with you when you're here or when you're traveling overseas, and knows the international competition. So that's the model that we started with in 2008. In 9, 10, and 11, it worked well. In 12, I wondered how it was going to work with the limitation of credentials, but we were able to get more credentials in this Olympic Games, and it worked out good. We were probably 1 credential short of what we needed. But the triangle of personal coach, World Olympic team member, and national coach is a critical triangle in the success of that athlete and our program.
Explain in your mind why RTCs are a plus, not only for USA Wrestling, but also for those colleges that have wrestling programs and set these up. What's plus about this?
Well, it's like you said, it's win-win. You have a mentorship relationship. You have a world-class wrestler mentoring a collegiate Olympic hopeful someday, a 2016, a 2020 hopeful. It's a natural feeder program that the college program feeds into the senior level program, and it's seamless, and it's working with a coach that will work with them not just 5 years through college, but it's really an 8 to 10 year plan that they'll go to college, work with that coach, and then when he graduates, he'll continue to work with that Olympic caliber coach for his next 4 to 8 years as 1 to 2 Olympic cycles, and it's a seamless transition for that athlete in the process. So there's so many wins to it. I can even tell you, just small communities, places like State College. And I remember when I was at Morgantown, West Virginia, one of the things that we talked about was having Olympians walking around in our small communities of 50,000 people. I mean, there are a lot of college small towns, and when you have Olympians walking around your communities, it's not only good for the wrestlers, but it's good for the people of that town, that city, to know that there are people like somebody at that level, at the Olympic caliber level, but interacting with our communities and our children, our people, and our families.
So you see the program not only helping the colleges and the senior level, but it also helps the whole wrestling community in that region?
Yeah, what it does is it brands that local community. So what it'll do is you'll start to have Olympians in a town, say, Ann Arbor, Michigan, and Michigan's RTC and Cliff Keen. That what they do is they have these Olympians walking around their communities, athletic directors, families, business people get to know them. They start to sponsor those athletes. They intertwine themselves within those local communities. And it's critical. It's critical not only for the success of that athlete, but it brings a positive light to those communities.
Now, we have a certain number of college programs in the United States. Potentially, could there be an RTC at almost all of them if they've reached out and set up the goals to try to match what they're doing at Penn State or what they're doing in Michigan or what they're doing in some of the other locations?
Yeah, they can always have an RTC, because remember, too, RTCs aren't just working with senior athletes. It's working with junior athletes. That one of the things we had talked about was Satiev. He was winning gold medals when he was 19 years old. Why? Well, Satiev won a medal at 19 years old, like Henry, another good example, Segudo, where when he was 15, he was wrestling with the 19-year-olds. So as those guys, Satiev and Henry, became 15, 16, they were wrestling with world-class athletes that were 19 and 20. They got naturally, the juniors got pulled up in the seniors quicker. That's why the Russians are winning medals faster, earlier, younger than we do, because we go through the collegiate program before they get that experience. Now, through regional training centers, we can introduce that Olympic experience to get cadet and junior wrestlers. That's critical for us. We'll win medals earlier.
How much input in your mind do the regional training centers and the personal coaches have on the direction of the overall program?
Well, it's really their program. I'm here to support them. I have great relationships with those coaches, because we're working together to help their wrestler win World Olympic medals. It's definitely a marriage between the national team program and those regional training centers. It's critical that there's a seamless flow of information. I know part of what I feel my job is to ensure they have the video, ensure they know what's going on in the world, because they're coaching at the Las Vegas Invitational of the Midlands. They don't have time to take Jake Varner over to Russia because they're coaching their collegiate program. So I take Jake. We go over, we help Jake get ready, but not only that, I bring all the video home, not only of Jake, but of all his competitors. And then Casey and Kale are able to work with Jake and say, okay, now I know what we need to do with them when we're at home. We do the same thing for every one of our athletes. So there's a really important relationship and we've been very blessed to have good people who care, the regional training centers and the national team program working seamlessly together to be able to do those things. And that's why I think we're starting to get some of the results that we want to get.
And you see that if we continue down this path, it'll help us for Rio and beyond.
Yeah, I think it's a culmination of several things. The regional training centers being the big bulk of our success. I really believe in our developmental training center that we're getting ready to launch, with having the best high school wrestlers in the nation, some of the high school wrestlers in the nation, best wrestlers in the nation, living and training in Colorado Springs with some of our senior athletes. I think that's going to help us get a medal. We need to get a medal from the OTC. Obviously, we got 3 medals from our regional training centers, but ultimately we need the OTC and the regional training centers delivering the medals ultimately that will help us win a world title, an Olympic gold medal.
Thanks, Coach.